Okay, so in this video, we are going to see how to use Power Query to format our dates correctly. And this can be done over and over again without you having to actually come back and do it over and over again. So as we know, the beauty of Power Query is that once we do the coding, it's saved over here in these applied steps, and next time we refresh the data with the new information, Power Query will follow all of these steps. So what I'm working with here is some data that I've exported from PayPal, and PayPal is using the American date format, and my computer and my Power BI are using the New Zealand date format. So when I try to change the data type of these columns to date, some of the dates work, but some of the dates provide an error. And that's because those particular dates are not in the correct New Zealand date format. So we can see that in American US format, that's December 19th. But in the New Zealand format, that's the 12th day of the 19th month. But we don't have 19 months. So I can't just change that into a date type normally. So what I need to do is use the using locale feature. And this is not new anymore, but it's relatively new. It wasn't always there. And so we may have struggled with date formats in the past and given up on it. But what we can do is we can choose the data type and select the locale of origin. Now, this is a little bit confusing when you're using it for the first time because I thought, yep, I'm in the New Zealand locale, so I'll choose English New Zealand. That should work, right? What happened? It did nothing. Well, there's a few things that I made a mistake with on that using locale. The first thing is that I had data type text. Okay, we want to set that to a date, not text. Setting it to text made it stay that way. So we're changing that to data type date. Click OK. That should fix the problem. Not quite. We're still getting that error, and that's because I'm not slowing down. I'm not taking my time to read the Microsoft jargon and figure out what it means. So here it's giving me a sample input value. And so the input value says the 29th of the 3rd. So this is saying if your data that you're working with is coming in the New Zealand locale for date format, then it will convert it into a data type date using whatever locale your Power BI or Power Query or Excel or computer are set to use. So we need to select the locale of origin, not the locale of the destination or the desired locale that we want it to end up in. Okay, so now that we've got that settled, I'm going to change this to English United States. Here we can see that it's March 29th, right? So it's flip-flopped my month and my day around. And so now when I click OK, all of these errors are going to turn into proper dates. Note that it's using my New Zealand locale, right? So I haven't told it anything about what locale to convert it into. All I'm doing is telling it what locale to convert it from. So it's converting from the US locale into the New Zealand locale. And so that's giving me the correct dates in the correct format. This works even if you're not having problems with locale and you just need to get the dates to format as dates and not as text. Then you can just come in, you can use the quick date and that will work for you. If you're finding you're getting errors, that's when we need to delete that and we need to do the more Advanced using locale method, change that to the date type and choose the locale of origin. All right. If you want to, you can choose that using locale. Choose date rather than having to scroll through and find all of that locale. Now that we've learned what our locale of origin is from these previous steps, we can just paste that code into our next date. Okay. Now I want to try something a little bit fancy. You can see that I'm getting a changed type with locale step for each time that I'm doing this. Well, that's kind of weird because normally when I change data types for multiple columns, say I'll set this to text, and I'll set this to text, and I'll set this to a number, you can see that that gets put into one step. And we've got this squiggly bracket here and here, which is creating a list of items. And then within that list, we have multiple lists. And so this is giving us the column name and the data type, the column name and the data type. So we've got mini lists of column name data type separated by commas to make up a bigger list of all the column names and data types that I want. If I put this onto a new line for us, we'll be able to see that a little bit more clearly. And so we can see that this is the start of our list of column names, data types, and there's the end of our list. Right? And then within each item, we've got the name, the data type. So first column, second column, etc., etc. I want to see if we can use that same pattern with our changed type with locale. So again, we can see that I've got my list within a list, but it's only got one column name and one data type. And here, I've got one column name and one data type. I am going to copy that column name and data type. I'm going to put it in this step here, separated by a comma. And so we can see at the moment the date created is a date, the invoice date is a text. So when I hit the check mark on this, we can see that the invoice date has now converted to a date as well. And so now I can copy the same information from here, my due date and the data type, and I can copy that separated by a comma into here. Again, if it's easier for you, M code does not care about spaces or line breaks, so I'm just using Shift Enter to put new lines into my code here to make it easier to see the separations between the columns and the data types. So copying and pasting, hit the check mark. That's great, that's working. So now I can get rid of all of these steps. I'm going to right click and delete till the end to get rid of all of them at once. Saves me a little bit of time. They're redundant. But I haven't done the last payment date yet, and I need to add that in. So I don't have anywhere to copy it from, But what I can do is I can try copying this and pasting that into here and changing the name case sensitive. And you can see that that has worked. So now my last payment date is no longer a text field. It doesn't have any errors. So that's pulled everything through properly for me. Okay. So we can do the same thing with any other dates. Comma, paste, change the name, and you'll see item date changed from text to date. Magic.